Welcome back to another thrilling mystery with Sherlock Holmes. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales of intrigue, deduction, and justice. Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Enchantress. The gas lamps of Baker Street cast long, flickering shadows across the cobblestone path leading to 221B. Inside, the familiar warmth of the sitting room enveloped Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson. Holmes was engrossed in a complex chemical experiment, his keen eyes darting between vials and beakers, while Watson was leisurely reading the latest medical journal, savoring a rare moment of tranquility. As midnight approached, the serenity was abruptly interrupted by a sharp knock at the door. Watson glanced up, mildly surprised by the hour's disturbance. "I wasn't expecting anyone," he remarked, setting aside his journal. Holmes looked up from his experiment, his sharp gaze fixed on the door. "An unexpected visitor, perhaps, Dr. Watson." Watson rose to answer the call, moving towards the door with measured steps. Upon opening it, he found a courier, drenched from the relentless rain that had battered London all evening. The courier, a young man with nervous eyes, handed Watson a sealed envelope before hurrying away into the storm. Holmes's curiosity was immediately piqued. He took the envelope from Watson's hand, examining the wax seal embossed with an intricate emblem, a crescent moon entwined with a serpent. "Interesting. This seal suggests a message of considerable importance." Watson, intrigued, took the envelope and carefully broke the seal. Inside was a single, elegantly penned sheet of paper. "To Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson, you are cordially invited to attend an exclusive masquerade ball at the illustrious Langley House this coming Saturday at 8 o'clock in the evening. Your presence is requested to witness a revelation that promises to shake the very foundations of our esteemed society. Discretion is paramount. A concerned benefactor." Holmes read the letter aloud, his brow furrowing in concentration. "A masquerade ball, you say? And a revelation that could shake the foundations. This is no ordinary social gathering." Watson pondered for a moment. "Do you believe this is a genuine invitation, or could it be a trap?" Holmes stood, his mind already racing through possibilities. "Given the nature of our recent inquiries and the shadows that seem to linger over London's elite, I suspect this invitation is tied to matters we have yet to uncover. It would be unwise to ignore such a summons." Watson nodded in agreement. "What do you propose we do?" Holmes walked to his window, gazing out into the rain-soaked streets. "We attend the ball, under the guise of guests, and observe. There is much we can glean from such an event. Alliances, secrets, and perhaps the revelation hinted at in the letter." The idea was met with Watson's enthusiastic approval. "An excellent plan, Holmes. It may provide the breakthrough we need." As the night deepened, Holmes began preparations for the upcoming ball, selecting an appropriate disguise to blend seamlessly among the high society. He chose a tailored evening suit, complete with a mask that concealed his sharp features while maintaining an air of sophistication. Watson, ever the loyal companion, assisted in ensuring their appearance would not arouse suspicion. Days passed, and anticipation built for the Saturday soiree at Langley House. On the evening of the event, Holmes and Watson arrived in a stately carriage, their attire impeccable, hiding the analytical minds that awaited within. The grand facade of Langley House was illuminated by countless gas lamps, and the sound of orchestral music floated through the air, mingling with the soft chatter of distinguished guests. Inside, the ballroom was a spectacle of elegance and opulence. Guests adorned in elaborate masks and sumptuous gowns mingled, their laughter and conversation creating a lively ambiance. Holmes and Watson navigated the crowd with practiced ease, observing and cataloging the myriad interactions around them. As the clock neared 8 o'clock, the room's attention shifted to a central dais, where a woman of striking beauty and commanding presence stepped forward. Her mask, adorned with feathers and jewels, concealed her identity, adding an air of mystery. She began to speak, her voice melodious, yet carrying an undercurrent of urgency. "Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, welcome. Tonight, you will witness something extraordinary, a revelation that has been in the making for many years. Please, remain attentive, for what you are about to see will change our understanding of power and influence in our society." Holmes exchanged a subtle glance with Watson, both sensing the gravity of her words. As she continued, the lights dimmed and a large, ornate box was wheeled into the center of the room. The woman lifted the lid, revealing an array of documents and artifacts. The crowd gasped in awe as she began to unveil each item, narrating their significance with precision. Among the items was a series of letters and symbols eerily similar to the one on the envelope Holmes had received. The woman paused, locking eyes with Holmes for a fleeting moment before addressing the audience once more. These documents reveal the hidden dealings and manipulations that have shaped our society from the shadows. It is time for transparency and truth to prevail. Before Holmes could react further, the woman stepped back, and the room erupted into a flurry of questions and chaos. Amidst the turmoil, Holmes and Watson identified the symbols from the envelope on several of the documents, confirming their suspicions that this revelation was indeed linked to their invitation. As the night progressed, Holmes meticulously observed the interactions and behaviors of the guests, searching for any sign of the concerned benefactor. His sharp mind began to piece together the intricate puzzle, but the true depth of the mystery was only beginning to unfold. Holmes approached Watson, who had been quietly taking notes, and whispered, "There is more to this revelation than meets the eye, my dear Watson. I believe we are about to uncover a network of deceit that reaches far beyond what has been presented tonight." Watson nodded, his curiosity fully ignited. "What do you propose we do, Holmes?" Holmes's eyes gleamed with determination. "We must delve deeper into the documents unveiled tonight. There are patterns here that suggest a serial operation, possibly orchestrated by a single individual with access to high society's inner circles. Our mission is to identify this individual and uncover their motives." As the evening wore on, the masquerade ball became a stage for secrets to unfold, alliances to form, and suspicions to rise. Holmes and Watson, hidden behind their masks, navigated the complex social landscape with the precision of seasoned detectives, ready to unravel the tangled web that lay before them. With the first chapter setting the stage for a night of intrigue and unveiling secrets, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson stand on the brink of uncovering a deeper conspiracy that threatens to expose the darkest corners of London's elite. The grand ballroom of Langley House was a spectacle of light and color, adorned with cascading draperies, crystal chandeliers, and gilded mirrors that reflected the opulence of the evening. The air was thick with the scent of blooming roses and the harmonious strains of a string quartet, creating an atmosphere of refined elegance and anticipation. Guests adorned in elaborate masks and sumptuous gowns moved gracefully across the polished marble floor, their laughter and conversation weaving a lively tapestry of high society. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson entered the ballroom with practiced ease, their disguises impeccable. Holmes wore a finely tailored evening suit, complete with a tasteful mask that concealed his sharp features, while Watson donned a mask of understated elegance that allowed his kind eyes to remain visible. They blended seamlessly into the crowd, their keen eyes taking in every detail without attracting undue attention. Holmes's gaze swept the room, noting the interactions and subtle dynamics between the guests. His mind was already working, piecing together observations that others might overlook. Watson, ever the faithful chronicler, followed silently, trusting in Holmes's unparalleled deductive abilities. As the clock in the hall began to chime 8 times, signaling the commencement of the evening's main event, the guests' attention shifted to the central dais. The lights dimmed slightly, and all eyes turned toward the stage where a woman of striking beauty stood. Her gown was a masterpiece of silk and lace, adorned with intricate beadwork that caught the light with every movement. Her mask, embellished with feathers and jewels, added an air of mystery to her already captivating presence. "Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests," she began, her voice melodious yet carrying an undercurrent of urgency, "tonight you will witness something extraordinary, a revelation that has been in the making for many years. Please, remain attentive, for what you are about to see will change our understanding of power and influence in our society." Holmes exchanged a subtle glance with Watson, both sensing the gravity of her words. The woman continued, unveiling a large, ornate box that was wheeled onto the stage. The crowd hushed as she lifted the lid, revealing an array of documents and artifacts meticulously arranged within. "The items you see before you are the culmination of hidden dealings and manipulations that have shaped our society from the shadows," she declared. "It is time for transparency and truth to prevail." As she spoke, Holmes's sharp eyes caught the symbols on some of the documents, symbols eerily similar to those on the envelope he had received. The realization that this revelation was directly linked to their invitation set his mind racing. He began to observe the reactions of the guests, noting whispers and furtive glances exchanged among them. The woman continued to narrate the significance of each item, her voice steady and commanding. Among the artifacts was a series of letters, each bearing the same crescent moon and serpent emblem as the envelope. Holmes's heart quickened. These were unmistakable signs tying the revelation to the invitation they had received. As the presentation concluded, questions erupted from the crowd, the guests eager to understand the full extent of the revelations. Amidst the chaos, Holmes and Watson remained composed, their focus unwavering. Holmes's eyes never left the woman on the stage, analyzing every gesture and expression for hidden meanings. Suddenly, a commotion arose near the entrance of the ballroom. A guest, his mask askew, stumbled forward, clutching his chest as if in distress. The crowd parted instinctively, revealing the source of the disturbance, a man of middle age with a stern demeanor and an air of authority. He approached the dais, his movements deliberate. "Please, everyone remain calm," he announced, his voice authoritative yet tinged with fear. "There has been a mishap." Before he could elaborate, the lights flickered and dimmed further, plunging the room into a momentary darkness. A collective gasp rose from the guests, followed by a brief period of disoriented silence. When the lights returned, the man was gone, leaving behind only the echo of his announcement. Holmes's keen mind began to connect the dots. The symbols, the orchestrated chaos, and the disappearance of the man all pointed to a carefully planned scheme. He leaned closer to Watson, whispering, "This is no mere revelation. It is a distraction, a means to an end. Someone is using this event to cover their tracks." Watson nodded, his medical training making him sensitive to the nuances of distress and deception. "But what end, Holmes? And who among these guests would benefit from such a scheme?" Holmes scanned the room once more, his eyes narrowing as they settled on a figure near the edge of the ballroom. A woman, her mask partially obscured by her cascading hair, stood apart from the crowd, her eyes fixed intently on the stage. There was something unsettling about her composure, a hint of something darker lurking beneath her elegant exterior. As the guests began to recover from the brief interruption, Holmes and Watson decided to approach the woman. They moved with calculated grace, blending into the remaining attendees who were now buzzing with speculation and curiosity. "Good evening," Holmes began smoothly, his tone polite yet probing. "You seem quite interested in the presentation tonight." The woman turned to face them, her eyes meeting Holmes's with a mixture of intrigue and caution. "Indeed, I find the revelations most fascinating," she replied, her voice soft yet commanding. "There is much to uncover beneath the surface." Holmes studied her intently, noting the subtle tension in her posture and the way her eyes flickered momentarily toward the spot where the man had vanished. Such fascination often comes with its own set of questions, does it not? She smiled enigmatically. Questions lead to answers, and answers can be enlightening. Before Holmes could delve deeper, a new guest approached, tugging at the woman's sleeve. "Isabella, darling, we must go. The hosts are requesting your presence." And Holmes recognized the name from one of the letters in the box. Isabella Moreau, a name that had come up in his preliminary research. His mind raced as he connected the dots. Isabella was more than just a guest. She was central to the unfolding mystery. "Excuse us," Holmes said politely, making a mental note of Isabella's departure. "Perhaps another time." As Holmes and Watson watched Isabella leave the ballroom with her companion, the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. Isabella Moreau, a beautiful and intelligent woman with a hidden agenda, was intricately linked to the symbols and the orchestrated chaos of the evening. Returning to their disguises, Holmes whispered to Watson, "We must follow her. There is much more to this woman than meets the eye. She holds the key to unraveling this mystery." Watson nodded, his trust in Holmes unwavering. "Lead the way, Holmes. Let's uncover the truth behind Isabella Moreau and the secrets she hides." As the masquerade continued around them, Holmes and Watson prepared to delve deeper into the labyrinth of deceit and danger that Isabella had woven, determined to bring her dark intentions to light. The game was afoot, and the shadows of the masquerade ball were just the beginning of a deadly dance between hunter and prey. The following morning dawned crisp and clear, the pallid sunlight streaming through the curtains of 221B Baker Street and casting elongated shadows upon the floor. Sherlock Holmes was already at his desk, meticulously examining the documents he had procured from the masquerade ball. Dr. John Watson entered the room, his expression contemplative. "Any progress on the symbols, Holmes?" Watson inquired, settling into his chair across from his friend. Holmes looked up, his piercing eyes alight with intellectual fervor. "Indeed, Watson, these symbols, a crescent moon entwined with a serpent, are not mere decorative elements. They bear a striking resemblance to the insignia of the ancient and clandestine Order of the Serpentine Crescent, a secret society that purportedly wielded considerable influence over London's elite in the late 17th century. Watson leaned forward, intrigued. "The Order of the Serpentine Crescent? I've heard whispers of such a group, but nothing concrete. What can you tell me about them?" Holmes began to pace the room, his mind clearly racing ahead of his speech. The order was founded in 1683 by a group of aristocrats and intellectuals who sought to exert control over political and economic affairs from the shadows. Their emblem, the crescent moon entwined with a serpent, symbolized their pursuit of knowledge and their manipulative tactics, much like the serpent's traditional association with wisdom and deceit. Watson nodded, absorbing the information. "So, you're suggesting that this society may still be active today, orchestrating events from behind the scenes?" "Precisely," Holmes replied, stopping his pacing to fix Watson with a steady gaze. "The symbols we've observed at the masquerade ball indicate that the order may have resurfaced, or at the very least, remnants of its members continue to influence contemporary society. Their motives, however, remain obscured." Watson, ever the compassionate companion, glanced towards the window where the morning sun highlighted the bustling streets of London. "And what of Isabella Moreau?" She seemed so composed, yet there's an unsettling undertone to her presence. Holmes's expression softened slightly, acknowledging Watson's observation. Isabella Moreau is indeed a fascinating subject. Her involvement with the Order, if it exists, could provide crucial insights into their current activities. However, we must proceed with caution. Her beauty and charm are assets she likely employs to mask her true intentions. As Holmes continued his analysis, Watson found himself reflecting on his brief interaction with Isabella at the ball. Her enigmatic smile and the intensity of her gaze had left a lingering impression, one that now seemed more sinister in light of Holmes's discoveries. "Holmes, do you think Isabella is directly involved with the Order?" Watson asked, his medical training making him sensitive to the psychological nuances of human behavior. Holmes considered this thoughtfully. "It's a distinct possibility. Her presence at the masquerade ball, coupled with the symbols we've identified, suggests a deeper connection. We must delve into her background to uncover any links to the Order or other secretive organizations." Determined to gain more information, Holmes outlined a plan. "Tonight, we shall attend a social gathering hosted by one of the prominent members of the Order. It is imperative that we observe and gather intelligence without raising suspicion. Watson, your role will be to engage in conversation and gather personal insights, while I focus on the symbolic elements and interactions." Watson agreed, feeling the weight of their mission settle upon him. "Understood, Holmes. I'll do my best to blend in and extract any useful information." That evening, Holmes and Watson prepared for their infiltration into the Order's inner circles. Holmes selected a discreet yet elegant ensemble suitable for a high society event without drawing undue attention. Watson opted for a refined appearance, ensuring their disguises were both convincing and functional. The venue was an opulent townhouse nestled in the heart of Mayfair, its facade adorned with intricate stonework and blooming ivy. Upon arrival, they were greeted by a butler who led them through a grand entrance hall into a lavishly decorated drawing room. The air was thick with the scent of fresh flowers and the soft melodies of a string quartet. Guests mingled gracefully, their conversations a blend of laughter and hushed tones. Holmes and Watson took their places near the periphery, observing the interactions with keen interest. As the evening progressed, they noted several individuals displaying the emblematic symbols on cufflinks, embroidered fabrics, and even discreetly etched onto glassware. Holmes's attention was particularly drawn to a man standing near the fireplace, his attire subtly embellished with the serpent and crescent moon insignia. He approached Watson, whispering, "That gentleman. Observe his mannerisms. There is a calculated precision in his movements, a sign of someone accustomed to orchestrating events from behind the scenes." Watson nodded, his gaze fixed on the man. "And do you believe he is a high-ranking member of the Order?" "Highly likely," Holmes affirmed. "Our next step is to engage him in conversation. Extracting information without revealing our true purpose will be essential." Summoning his characteristic confidence, Holmes approached the man with a warm smile. "Good evening. I couldn't help but notice your exquisite cufflinks. They are quite distinctive." The man turned, his expression guarded, yet polite. "Thank you. They are a recent addition. I appreciate your compliment." Holmes extended his hand. "Sherlock Holmes, and this is my esteemed colleague, Dr. John Watson. We are new to the area and keen to understand more about the social dynamics here." The man shook Holmes's hand firmly. "A pleasure, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson. I am Edward Langford. Welcome to our humble gathering." As the conversation progressed, Holmes deftly steered the topic toward the Order of the Serpentine Crescent. "Mr. Langford, there are rumors about a secret society influencing London's elite. Have you heard much about the Order of the Serpentine Crescent?" Langford's demeanor shifted slightly, a flicker of recognition passing through his eyes before he regained his composure. "Ah, The Order, a topic of much speculation indeed. However, I find that many of these rumors are greatly exaggerated. Holmes pressed further, but surely a group with such a storied history would leave some tangible mark on current affairs. What exactly do they influence, if at all? Langford leaned in slightly, his voice lowering. The Order operates discreetly, if it exists. Their influence is subtle, woven into the fabric of societal and economic structures. It's not uncommon for such groups to prefer whispers over proclamations. Holmes nodded thoughtfully, sensing that Langford was withholding information. Indeed, subtlety is often the hallmark of effective influence. May I ask what drew you to attend tonight's gathering? Langford smiled thinly. Networking primarily. Events like these provide opportunities to form valuable connections. And of course, the chance to enjoy the finer aspects of social life. As the conversation drew to a close, Holmes exchanged a meaningful glance with Watson. We have much to consider, Watson. Langford is either deeply entrenched in the Order or merely a knowledgeable observer. Either way, his insights could prove invaluable. Watson agreed. And what of Isabella Moreau? Have you had a chance to speak with her? Holmes's eyes twinkled with a mixture of admiration and suspicion. Yes, briefly. Her intelligence and grace are remarkable. However, there is an undercurrent of something more, perhaps ambition or a hidden agenda. We must tread carefully. As the evening wore on, Holmes and Watson continued their discreet observations, piecing together the intricate web of relationships and influences within the Order. Their efforts were meticulous, each interaction and symbol analyzed for hidden meanings and connections. Later that night, back at Baker Street, Holmes and Watson debriefed their findings. The Order's presence is undeniable, Holmes concluded, tapping his finger against the documents spread before him. Their influence permeates through various sectors: finance, politics, and even the arts. Isabella Moreau's role within this network is yet to be fully understood, but her proximity to key members suggests she is more than a mere participant. Watson, reflecting on the evening's events, added, "Her charm could very well be a tool, Holmes. If she is indeed a serial killer, as the whispers suggest, she might be using her connections to mask her activities and eliminate those who threaten her position." Holmes nodded in agreement. "Precisely, Watson. Our task is to uncover the layers of deception surrounding her and the Order. We must remain vigilant, for the shadows of the past have a way of creeping into the present, often with deadly consequences." With their path now clearly defined, Holmes and Watson prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. The enigmatic Isabella Moreau and the secretive Order of the Serpentine Crescent were proving to be formidable adversaries, their true intentions hidden beneath layers of elegance and mystery. As the night deepened, so too did the complexity of the case, drawing Holmes and Watson further into a labyrinth of intrigue and danger. The following evening, London was cloaked in a heavy mist, the gas lamps casting diffused halos through the damp air. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson sat in their usual chairs at 221 B. Baker Street, the morning's findings still fresh in their minds. Holmes tapped his fingers thoughtfully on the desk, his keen eyes scanning over the notes they had compiled from the evening's gathering. "Holmes," Watson began, breaking the silence, "you mentioned that Isabella Moreau might be using her charm as a tool. Do you believe she is directly involved with the Order, or is she operating independently?" Holmes leaned back, his mind clearly occupied with the complexities of the case. "Both possibilities remain open, Watson. Isabella's elegance and intelligence suggest a high level of sophistication, likely necessary for someone embedded within or closely associated with a secret society like the Order of the Serpentine Crescent." Watson nodded, his medical intuition attuned to the subtle cues Holmes often missed. Her demeanor at the ball was composed, yet there was an undercurrent of tension. It's as if she's carrying a burden she wishes to conceal. Holmes raised an eyebrow. Precisely. Let us delve deeper into her background. There must be connections, professional, personal, or otherwise, that tie her to the order. A thorough examination of her associations could prove fruitful. Determined to uncover the truth, Holmes began to sift through available records, starting with Isabella Moreau's social and professional circles. We need to explore her family history, her business dealings, and any affiliations she may have. The more we know about her, the clearer the picture becomes. Watson, ever supportive, fetched a fresh cup of tea for Holmes. Shall we begin with her familial ties? Perhaps her lineage holds some clues. Holmes appreciated the gesture but was already lost in thought. Indeed, Watson, a person's heritage can often illuminate motivations and connections that are not immediately apparent. Their investigation led them to the archives of the British Library, where Holmes meticulously combed through genealogical records and historical documents. Hours passed as they delved into the depths of Isabella's past, uncovering a lineage intertwined with notable figures in London's high society. "Here we are," Holmes exclaimed, pointing to a dusty ledger. "Isabella Moreau is a descendant of the late Lady Genevieve Moreau, a prominent philanthropist and a known benefactor of several scholarly societies in the late 19th century. Notably, Lady Genevieve was rumored to have ties with the Order of the Serpentine Crescent, serving as a patron for their more benign scholarly pursuits." Watson examined the ledger, intrigued. So, Isabella inherited both her beauty and her connections. It's plausible that she leveraged these inherited ties to infiltrate or influence the order. Holmes nodded thoughtfully. Indeed. However, we must consider the possibility that Isabella has her own agenda, separate from the order's original intentions. Her involvement in the masquerade ball and the orchestrated chaos therein suggests a personal motive intertwined with her societal roles. Their next lead took them to a secluded tea room in Mayfair, where Isabella Moreau was known to frequent. Disguised once more, Holmes and Watson entered the establishment, blending seamlessly with the refined clientele. The tea room was an epitome of Victorian elegance, with lace curtains, polished wood furnishings, and delicate porcelain teacups arranged meticulously on each table. Holmes's sharp eyes scanned the room until they settled on Isabella, who sat alone in a corner, engrossed in a book. Her presence was magnetic, drawing the attention of those around her without effort. Holmes and Watson approached her table with the subtlety of seasoned detectives. "Good evening, Miss Moreau," Holmes greeted warmly, his tone both polite and probing. "May we join you?" Isabella looked up, her eyes meeting Holmes's with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Of course, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson. Please, sit. It's always a pleasure to meet fellow enthusiasts of literature." As they settled into their seats, Holmes wasted no time in steering the conversation toward matters of mutual interest. "Your lineage is quite impressive, Miss Moreau. Lady Genevieve was a remarkable woman, much like yourself. Her contributions to scholarly societies were well noted." Isabella smiled gracefully. "Thank you, Mr. Holmes. I strive to honor her legacy. My work in the arts and philanthropy has always been inspired by her dedication to knowledge and societal betterment." Holmes leaned in slightly, his voice lowering to a more confidential tone. "It's fascinating how such legacies shape one's path. I couldn't help but notice your keen interest in the documents unveiled at the masquerade ball. They were quite a revelation." Isabella's expression remained serene, but Holmes detected a flicker of something, perhaps apprehension, in her eyes. Yes, the documents were indeed thought-provoking. They shed light on many hidden aspects of our society that were previously obscured. Watson observed the interaction, sensing the subtle tension between Holmes and Isabella. "Miss Moreau, what motivated you to host such a grand event? It was unlike any other gathering in recent times." Isabella paused, her gaze drifting momentarily to the window before returning to Holmes. "I believe that transparency and truth are essential for societal progress. The masquerade ball was an opportunity to unveil certain truths that have been concealed for far too long. It was also a chance to foster connections among like-minded individuals who are committed to positive change." Holmes raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her response. "Positive change, you say? It aligns with the ideals of the Order of the Serpentine Crescent, does it not?" Isabella nodded slowly. "Indeed, Mr. Holmes. The Order, in its current form, seeks to utilize its influence for the betterment of society. While its methods may be discreet, the intent remains focused on progress and enlightenment." Holmes exchanged a glance with Watson, both recognizing the significance of her words. "And the symbol, the crescent moon entwined with a serpent, what does it represent to you personally?" Isabella's eyes met Holmes's once more, a hint of something deeper passing between them. "The crescent moon symbolizes growth and new beginnings, while the serpent represents wisdom and transformation. Together, they embody the essence of our mission, to guide society through knowledge and enlightened action." As the conversation continued, Holmes felt the layers of Isabella's persona gradually unfold. Her charm and intelligence were undeniable, but beneath her graceful exterior lay a complexity that hinted at deeper motives. Watson, ever the observer, noted the subtle shifts in her demeanor, recognizing that there was more to her story than met the eye. After a while, Holmes excused himself, signaling to Watson that their conversation was progressing as desired. Once alone, he turned to Watson, his expression serious. "Watson, Isabella Moreau is indeed a formidable individual. Her connection to the Order is evident, and her motivations, while seemingly altruistic, may conceal more intricate and perhaps darker intentions." Watson nodded thoughtfully. "Do you think she could be involved in the serial killings we suspect?" Holmes contemplated the possibility. "It's plausible. The murders, coupled with the symbols and the orchestrated chaos at the masquerade, suggest a methodical approach to achieving a particular end. Isabella's influence and her access to high society could provide her with the means to manipulate events to her advantage." Determined to uncover the truth, Holmes decided to press further. "We must continue to observe her interactions and gather more information about her activities. There may be connections we have yet to uncover that will shed light on her true nature." As they left the tea room, the fog outside had lifted, revealing a clear night sky speckled with stars. Holmes and Watson walked side by side, their minds racing with the implications of their findings. The enigma of Isabella Moreau was becoming increasingly intricate, and the path to unraveling her secrets was fraught with complexity. Back at Baker Street, Holmes began compiling their observations, his mind a whirlwind of deductions and hypotheses. "Watson, our investigation is evolving rapidly. Isabella Moreau is a key figure, and understanding her motivations will be crucial in preventing further atrocities." Watson agreed, his trust in Holmes unwavering. "We'll follow every lead, Holmes. Together, we'll uncover the truth behind Isabella and the Order of the Serpentine Crescent." As the night deepened, the shadows of London's elite concealed both beauty and danger. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson stood on the precipice of a revelation that could alter the very fabric of society, determined to bring light to the darkness that threatened to engulf it. The following evening in London was overcast, with thick clouds casting a somber veil over the city's sprawling skyline. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson sat in their familiar seats at 221B Baker Street, the room dimly lit by the flickering flames of the fireplace. Papers and notes were strewn across Holmes's desk, each one a fragment of the intricate puzzle they were striving to solve. "Holmes," Watson began, his voice steady but tinged with concern, The more we uncover about Isabella Moreau and the Order of the Serpentine Crescent, the more entangled this case becomes. It's as if every thread we pull tightens the web around us. Holmes looked up from his notes, his sharp eyes reflecting the intensity of his thoughts. Indeed, Watson, Isabella is proving to be a master manipulator, adept at concealing her true intentions beneath layers of charm and intellect. Her connection to the Order suggests a level of influence that extends far beyond what we initially anticipated. As they delved deeper into their research, Holmes began to piece together a network of connections that linked Isabella to various high-profile individuals across London. His mind raced through the possibilities, each revelation more alarming than the last. "Look here," Holmes pointed to a map of London marked with several locations. These addresses correspond to significant events related to the Order. Notice the pattern. Each site is linked to a notable member of society who has since disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Watson leaned in, studying the map with a furrowed brow. "You believe these disappearances are connected to the Order's activities? Could Isabella be orchestrating these events to maintain control within the society?" Holmes nodded thoughtfully. "It is a plausible theory. The Order thrives on secrecy and manipulation. Eliminating those who pose a threat or who could expose their operations would be consistent with their modus operandi. Isabella's role within this structure is yet to be fully understood, but her influence is undeniably significant." Their investigation took an unexpected turn when they received an anonymous tip. A letter, similar in style to the invitation they had received earlier, arrived at Baker Street. This time it was marked with a simple message: "To Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson, your pursuit of truth leads you deeper into shadows. Be wary of the web that tightens around you." A silent observer, Holmes examined the letter carefully, his fingers tracing the elegant script. "Another message, Watson. It serves as both a warning and a confirmation that we are being watched. The sender wishes to intimidate us, to discourage further investigation into the Order and Isabella Moreau." Watson felt a chill run down his spine. Are we dealing with someone directly involved, or could this be an attempt to mislead us? Holmes's expression remained inscrutable. The letter is too vague to ascertain the sender's identity or intentions conclusively. However, it reinforces the notion that our inquiry is reaching a level of significance that some would prefer to remain concealed. Determined not to be deterred, Holmes proposed a strategic move. "Tonight, we attend a gathering hosted by one of the Order's known associates. It is imperative that we observe their interactions and gather more concrete evidence of their operations. Such events are often the perfect cover for clandestine activities." Watson agreed without hesitation. "I will make the necessary arrangements. Perhaps we can discreetly follow one of the prominent members and uncover their involvement." Later that evening, Holmes and Watson arrived at an exclusive club nestled in the heart of Mayfair, a known meeting place for members of the Order. The facade of the building was unassuming, with dark wooden panels and wrought iron accents that exuded an air of old-world charm. Inside, the atmosphere was one of subdued elegance, with guests engaged in hushed conversations over glasses of fine spirits. Holmes, dressed in a sophisticated evening suit, blended seamlessly into the crowd, his presence both commanding and inconspicuous. Watson followed closely, his demeanor calm and observant. They were determined to remain unnoticed as they navigated the room, searching for any sign of Isabella or other key figures within the Order. As they moved through the crowd, Holmes's eyes caught sight of a familiar face, Edward Langford, the man they had spoken with at the masquerade ball. He was engaged in a deep conversation with a group of influential businessmen, his gestures animated, yet controlled. Holmes signaled to Watson, who nodded and approached a nearby table to keep watch. "Langford appears to be a high-ranking member," Holmes whispered, his voice barely audible. "Observe his interactions and note any peculiar behaviors or connections." Watson watched intently as Langford discussed various topics, his manner exuding confidence and authority. Suddenly, Holmes's attention was drawn to a woman standing alone near the far end of the room. She was impeccably dressed, her presence both alluring and enigmatic. Holmes recognized her instantly, Isabella Moreau. She stood apart from the group, her eyes scanning the room with a mixture of determination and caution. Holmes felt a surge of anticipation. "Watson, observe her closely. There is something distinctly purposeful about her movements tonight." As the evening progressed, Holmes and Watson continued their surveillance, piecing together snippets of conversations and subtle interactions. Isabella moved gracefully through the room, her interactions calculated and precise. Holmes noted her exchanges with Langford and other key members, recognizing the signs of strategic alliance and manipulation. At one point, Isabella approached Langford, her demeanor shifting to one of subtle authority. "Edward, your insights into the current economic climate are invaluable. We must ensure that our influence remains undetected, yet effective." Langford nodded in agreement, the tension between them palpable. Holmes sensed that their conversation was laden with unspoken directives and covert plans. As the night wore on, Holmes and Watson found themselves at the periphery of a heated discussion between Isabella and another guest. The man, a renowned industrialist, appeared agitated, his gestures erratic. "I demand transparency," he exclaimed, his voice rising. "The Order's machinations are tearing apart the very fabric of our society. We cannot continue to operate in the shadows without consequences." Isabella responded with a calm yet authoritative tone. "Mr. Thompson, your concerns are noted. However, the Order's actions are designed to safeguard our interests and ensure stability. Any disruption to our operations would only serve to undermine the progress we have achieved." Holmes observed the exchange with keen interest. It's clear that Isabella holds significant sway within the Order, maintaining control through both charm and coercion. As the gathering began to wind down, Holmes and Watson made their way towards the exit, their minds racing with the information they had gathered. The evening had provided valuable insights, but the true extent of Isabella's influence and the Order's operations remained shrouded in mystery. Back at Baker Street, Holmes and Watson pored over their notes, connecting the dots between the various interactions and the symbols they had uncovered. "The web is indeed tightening," Watson, Holmes mused, his mind working overtime to synthesize the information. "Isabella Moreau is not just a participant, but a central figure orchestrating the Order's activities. Her role as an enchanter is twofold. She charms her way into influential circles while manipulating events from behind the scenes." Watson nodded, his respect for Holmes's deductive prowess growing ever stronger. "What's our next move, Holmes? How do we penetrate deeper into the Order without raising suspicion?" Holmes leaned back, a contemplative expression on his face. "We need to gain Isabella's trust, Watson. If we can position ourselves as allies or valuable contacts, we can uncover her true motives and the extent of her involvement in the serial killings. It will require subtlety, patience, and a keen understanding of her psychological makeup." As the night deepened, the duo prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. The stakes were higher than ever, with each revelation pulling them deeper into a labyrinth of deceit and danger. Isabella Moreau and the Order of the Serpentine Crescent were formidable adversaries, their true intentions hidden beneath layers of elegance and mystery. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson stood resolute, determined to bring light to the darkness that threatened to engulf London's elite. With the web of intrigue tightening around them, the path to uncovering the truth promised to be fraught with peril and revelation. The hunt for the beautiful serial killer was only beginning, and the shadows of the past loomed large over their quest for justice. The days following the gathering at the Mayfair Club were consumed by meticulous planning and relentless pursuit. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson returned to Baker Street each evening, poring over the extensive notes and connections they had unearthed. The intricate web spun by Isabella Moreau and the Order of the Serpentine Crescent demanded a strategic approach, one that balanced subtlety with determination. Holmes's study became a hive of activity. Maps of London were spread across the large oak table, each location marked with symbols and annotations. The duo cross-referenced these sites with the known activities of the Order, identifying patterns that suggested coordinated efforts to influence key sectors of society. Holmes's analytical mind worked tirelessly, connecting dots that others might overlook, while Watson provided invaluable insights from his medical and observational expertise. One evening, a breakthrough emerged from their research. An obscure ledger referenced a series of clandestine meetings held at various discrete locations throughout the city. These gatherings were ostensibly for philanthropic purposes, but, upon closer inspection, bore the hallmarks of covert operations. Holmes deduced that these meetings were likely where the Order orchestrated their influence and managed their more illicit endeavors. Determined to infiltrate one of these gatherings, Holmes and Watson devised a plan to attend under the guise of benefactors seeking to support the Order's charitable facade. Their preparation was thorough. Holmes selected attire that blended seamlessly with the elite attendees, ensuring they would not attract undue attention. Watson, ever the steadfast companion, assisted in refining their disguises and rehearsing their roles to perfection. The chosen evening arrived with a palpable tension. The location was an elegant townhouse situated in a secluded part of Kensington, its exterior unassuming, yet exuding an air of understated grandeur. As they approached, the subtle sound of classical music and the faint glow of candlelight hinted at the sophisticated affair within. Holmes and Watson entered the venue with calculated grace, navigating through a crowd of well-dressed individuals engaged in polite conversation and courteous gestures. Inside, the atmosphere was one of refined elegance. Guests moved gracefully through the rooms, their interactions fluid and purposeful. Holmes observed the dynamics carefully, noting the interactions between key figures and identifying potential leads. The Order's members were dispersed throughout the space, their conversations a blend of social pleasantries and veiled references to their true objectives. As the evening progressed, Holmes's keen eyes identified Isabella Moreau amidst the attendees. She moved with effortless grace, her presence commanding yet enigmatic. Holmes watched as she engaged with various members of the Order, her gestures precise and her demeanor composed. There was an unmistakable air of authority about her, suggesting she played a pivotal role within the organization. Holmes and Watson maintained their composure, blending into the background as they continued their surveillance. Their objective was clear: to gather intelligence without arousing suspicion. Holmes meticulously documented every detail, from the layout of the rooms to the interactions between guests, seeking patterns that could lead to a deeper understanding of the Order's operations. As the night deepened, a sense of urgency began to permeate the gathering. Subtle shifts in conversation hinted at pressing matters that required immediate attention. Holmes noted the signs of a planned operation, recognizing the telltale signs of a coordinated effort to execute a significant objective. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly coming together, revealing the extent of the Order's influence and the strategic prowess of its members. In a secluded corner of the room, Holmes observed a group of individuals huddled together, their discussion intense yet discreet. Among them was a figure who exuded a sense of quiet authority, someone who Holmes suspected held significant sway within the order. The detective made a mental note to monitor this individual closely, aware that any misstep could jeopardize their entire investigation. As the evening drew to a close, Holmes and Watson discreetly exited the townhouse, their minds abuzz with the information they had gathered. The night had provided valuable insights, yet the true depth of the order's machinations remained elusive. They retreated to Baker Street, where Holmes began the arduous task of synthesizing their findings into a coherent strategy. The following days were marked by an increased sense of urgency. Holmes delved deeper into the order's financial records, uncovering transactions that pointed to hidden accounts and illicit funding streams. Watson, utilizing his medical knowledge, began analyzing the psychological profiles of known order members, seeking to understand the motivations that drove their actions. Their investigation took an unexpected turn when they received a cryptic message delivered by an unmarked courier. The note contained only a single phrase: "The dance of deception continues." Holmes interpreted this as a warning, a reminder that their adversaries were aware of their pursuit and were likely to take measures to thwart their efforts. Undeterred, Holmes and Watson intensified their efforts, determined to penetrate the heart of the order and uncover the truth behind Isabella Moreau's enigmatic facade. Their pursuit led them to a series of underground meetings, each revealing more about the order's influence and the lengths they would go to maintain their control over London's elite. Through relentless dedication and unwavering resolve, Holmes began to unravel the intricate network that Isabella had meticulously woven. Every discovery, every connection brought them closer to the heart of the mystery, yet also exposed them to greater risks. The dance of deception was indeed a dangerous game, but Holmes and Watson were steadfast in their mission to bring justice to the shadows that threatened to engulf the city. As the web tightened around them, the stakes grew higher, and the true extent of Isabella Moreau's darkness began to surface. The final confrontation loomed on the horizon, a culmination of their relentless pursuit and the culmination of the intricate dance that had defined their investigation. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson stood resolute, ready to face the shadows and unveil the truth behind the beautiful enigma that was Isabella Moreau. The night air in London was unusually still, the city cloaked in a thick fog that seemed to mute the usual cacophony of urban life. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson sat in their familiar chairs at 221 B. Baker Street, the room dimly lit by the soft glow of gas lamps. Their recent discoveries about the Order of the Serpentine Crescent and Isabella Moreau weighed heavily on their minds, each piece of the puzzle revealing a more intricate and dangerous web of deceit. Holmes leaned back, his fingers steepled beneath his chin as he pondered their next move. "Watson, our investigation has led us to a critical juncture. Isabella Moreau is not merely a participant, but a central orchestrator within the order. Her involvement in the serial killings suggests a methodical and deeply personal motive." Watson nodded, his medical training allowing him to perceive the subtle tensions in Holmes's demeanor. "Do you believe she targets specific individuals, or is there a broader pattern to her actions?" Holmes tapped a finger against his lip thoughtfully. The symbols left at each crime scene indicate a ritualistic element, pointing to personal vendettas intertwined with the Order's objectives. Each victim appears to be connected to individuals who could potentially expose or disrupt the Order's operations. Their conversation was interrupted by a sharp knock at the door. Mrs. Hudson entered, her expression grave. "Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, there's someone here to see you. He insists it's urgent." Holmes exchanged a quick glance with Watson before rising to answer the door. Upon opening it, they were greeted by a young man, his clothes disheveled and eyes wide with fear. "Please, come in," Holmes said calmly, ushering him into the sitting room. The young man took a hesitant step forward, clutching a crumpled piece of paper in his trembling hands. "Mr. Holmes, I believe I have information that could help you. It's about Isabella Moreau." Holmes gestured for him to sit, his interest visibly piqued. "Please, tell us everything." The man took a deep breath, his voice shaky. "I used to work for Isabella. I was part of her inner circle, but I discovered her true nature when I stumbled upon her plans. She's been using her charm and influence to manipulate and eliminate anyone who threatens her position within the order." Watson leaned forward, concern etched on his face. "What exactly did you find out?" The man handed Holmes the crumpled paper, which he smoothed out to reveal detailed notes and sketches. "This is part of her ledger. It outlines her targets and the methods she uses to dispose of them. She meticulously plans each murder to send a message, ensuring that fear keeps potential threats in check." Holmes examined the document intently, his sharp eyes scanning the contents with rapid precision. "This is invaluable. It not only confirms our suspicions, but also provides a pattern we can anticipate. Thank you for your bravery in coming forward." The man nodded, relief evident in his demeanor. "I couldn't stay silent any longer. She's become dangerous, and I fear what she'll do next if she continues unchecked." As the young man left, Holmes turned to Watson, his expression resolute. "We now have concrete evidence of Isabella's involvement and her methodology. It's time to bring her to justice." Watson agreed, his determination matching Holmes's. "What's the plan, Holmes?" Holmes outlined their strategy with meticulous detail. "We need to anticipate her next move. Based on her pattern, her next target will likely be someone who has the means to expose the order or disrupt their operations. We'll set a trap by ensuring that this individual is present at a location where we can observe and intervene without raising suspicion." Their preparations were swift and precise. Holmes utilized his extensive network of informants to identify a potential target, a prominent journalist known for his investigative work into London's elite societies. They arranged for the journalist to visit a secluded location under the guise of an exclusive interview with Isabella. On the appointed night, Holmes and Watson stationed themselves discreetly in a nearby building, their vantage point providing a clear view of the meeting spot. The air was thick with anticipation as the minutes ticked by, each second heightening the tension. At precisely 10 o'clock, a car pulled up to the designated location. Holmes recognized the vehicle immediately. It matched the description provided by their informant. As the door opened, Isabella Moreau stepped out, her presence commanding and elegant as ever. She approached the journalist with a warm smile, her demeanor composed, yet exuding an air of authority. "Mr. Thompson, it's a pleasure to finally meet you," she greeted, extending her hand in a gesture of goodwill. "The pleasure is mine, Miss Moreau," Thompson replied, shaking her hand firmly. "I've heard much about your work with the Order." Holmes watched intently as Isabella led Thompson to a secluded bench under a large oak tree, ensuring they were out of immediate sight. The conversation between them was courteous, masking the underlying tension Holmes and Watson felt. It was clear that Isabella was aware of their presence, her eyes occasionally flickering towards their position with calculated awareness. As the clock approached 11, the air grew colder and the atmosphere more charged. Holmes signaled to Watson, who stood ready to act. "Now, Watson," he whispered, "we must move swiftly." Holmes approached the meeting point with the grace of a seasoned detective, his movements fluid and unassuming. Isabella glanced up, her expression shifting from cordial to guarded in an instant. "Miss Moreau," Holmes began, his voice steady and authoritative, "it's a pleasure to finally speak with you directly." Isabella smiled, a hint of something unreadable in her eyes. "Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, to what do I owe the honor?" Holmes didn't waste a moment. "We know about your involvement with the Order and the series of murders you've orchestrated. Your attempts to manipulate and eliminate those who pose a threat to your position end tonight." Before Isabella could react, Watson stepped forward, his presence commanding. "You're under arrest, Isabella Moreau!" A flicker of fear crossed her face, quickly masked by defiance. "You have no proof," she retorted, stepping back with a graceful poise that belied the panic in her eyes. Holmes held up the ledger they had obtained, the evidence irrefutable. "We have ample proof of your crimes and your methods. Your reign of fear ends now." Realizing the futility of her situation, Isabella's composure began to crumble. "You don't understand," she whispered, her voice tinged with desperation. "The order needs me." "Your actions have only served to harm innocent people and perpetuate a cycle of fear," Holmes countered firmly. "It's time to face the consequences of your deeds." As the authorities arrived to take her into custody, Isabella glared defiantly, her plans unraveled before her. The final act of her dark dance with deception had come to an end, and justice was served. Holmes and Watson stood back, the weight of the night's events settling upon them. "Another case closed," Watson remarked, a mix of relief and exhaustion in his voice. Holmes nodded thoughtfully, his mind already shifting to the implications of Isabella's actions on the Order and London's elite. "Indeed, Watson, but the shadows of this case will linger, reminding us of the depths to which human ambition and darkness can reach." As they returned to Baker Street, the fog had lifted, leaving the city bathed in the soft light of dawn. The mystery had been solved, but the echoes of the events would resonate long after the final curtain had fallen. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson had once again unraveled a complex web of deceit, their partnership a testament to the enduring pursuit of truth and justice. The pale light of dawn filtered through the windows of 221B Baker Street as Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson returned from a night that had stretched their resolve and intellect to its limits. The streets of London were beginning to stir, the city slowly waking from its slumber, yet the weight of their recent ordeal lingered heavily in the air. Holmes removed his coat and hat with a deliberate calm, his movements betraying none of the tension that had gripped him during the night's events. Watson, however, could not hide his exhaustion, slumping into his chair with a deep sigh. "It's over, Holmes," Watson said quietly, though his tone carried a sense of lingering disbelief. "Isabella Moreau is in custody, the Order of the Serpentine Crescent exposed. We've unraveled the mystery, yet I can't help but feel a shadow remains." Holmes, ever composed, poured himself a cup of tea before responding. "The shadow you feel, Watson, is the echo of the complexities we've encountered. Isabella Moreau was not merely a criminal, she was a product of her environment, molded by the ambitions and secrets of those around her." Watson nodded, his thoughts aligning with Holmes's sentiment. "She was brilliant, no doubt. Her charm and intellect could have been used for greatness, yet she chose a darker path. Do you think she ever truly believed her actions served a greater good?" Holmes sipped his tea thoughtfully. "It is difficult to say. Her rhetoric suggested she viewed herself as a necessary force within the Order, a guardian of its influence and secrecy, yet her actions, calculated, cold, and unrelenting, betrayed a different truth. She thrived on control, and those who threatened it were simply obstacles to be removed." The case had left its mark on both men. The ledger recovered from Isabella's possession had revealed not only her meticulous planning, but also the scope of the Order's reach. Names of prominent individuals, financial transactions, and hidden alliances painted a grim picture of a society that thrived on manipulation and fear. As the day unfolded, reports of Isabella's arrest began to circulate among London's elite. The city buzzed with speculation and intrigue, the newspapers eagerly publishing salacious details about the enigmatic woman who had orchestrated such a complex web of deceit. Holmes and Watson, however, remained discreet, content to let the facts speak for themselves. Later that afternoon, Inspector Lestrade arrived at Baker Street, his expression a mix of admiration and relief. "Well done, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson. The evidence you provided is overwhelming. Isabella Moreau's confessions have already begun to dismantle the Order's operations." Holmes acknowledged Lestrade's praise with a nod. "Thank you, Inspector. However, I caution you, while Isabella may have been a central figure, the Order is far from extinguished. Its roots run deep, and its members are adept at survival. Vigilance will be required to ensure its influence does not resurface." Lestrade agreed, his respect for Holmes evident. "We'll keep a close watch, you can be sure of that. London owes you both a debt of gratitude." As Lestrade departed, Holmes turned to Watson, his demeanor pensive. "This case, Watson, has been a reminder of the duality of human nature. Even in the pursuit of what one perceives as noble goals, ambition and power can lead to corruption and destruction." Watson, ever the moral compass, added, "And it's also a reminder of the importance of accountability, Holmes. The Order thrived in the shadows, unchallenged by the light of scrutiny. Isabella's downfall is a testament to the power of truth and justice." The evening brought a rare moment of quiet reflection. Holmes, seated in his favorite chair, gazed into the flickering flames of the fireplace. Watson, a glass of brandy in hand, joined him, the two men sharing an unspoken understanding of the toll their work often took. "Will the city ever truly be free of such conspiracies, Holmes?" Watson asked, his voice low. Holmes's gaze remained fixed on the fire. "Conspiracies, Watson, are as old as humanity itself. They thrive in the shadows of ambition and secrecy, but so long as there are those willing to confront them, to bring light to darkness, they will never fully prevail." The case of Isabella Moreau and the Order of the Serpentine Crescent had been one of their most intricate and challenging yet, a testament to the enduring partnership between Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson. As the flames danced in the hearth, the two men sat in quiet companionship, their shared resolve a beacon against the shadows that threatened to engulf the world around them. The echoes of the case would linger, but for now, justice had been served, and the city of London could rest a little easier, knowing its greatest detectives were ever vigilant.